of games my mom found. I am Mike Albertin, and who are the Spartans with me tonight?
Noble 1, Staurt Hughes.
Noble 2, Josh Minette.
And that's it.
Yeah, for this week.
Somebody else is late.
He might be
Stefan
coming,
might hop in
hopefully.
later.
Hopefully.
He said he's going to try to make it. All right, and before we get too far, first I do want to give another shout-out to another podcast. I didn't say that right, but we're going to go with it. Genuine Chit Chat. 2 episodes ago, you would have heard a nice intro from them. They're a much more, let's say, intellectual podcast than the one that you're listening to right now. He kind of he interviews professionals from different industries. It's quite interesting. So if you're looking for something else to add into your list, definitely check him out. I'll have a link in the show notes. And Stu, would you want to introduce the lovely game you picked out for us this week?
Sure. Initially, we were supposed to play Halo 1, but it's not out yet. So instead, we are going to do the prequel to the series, Halo Reach.
Yes. And for those that are confused, listen to last week's episode. Yes, we were supposed to play Castlevania Area Sorrow, but due to scheduling conflicts, we're doing that next week, and we did this a week sooner.
Shifted some things up again.
Before we start, what are your guys' thoughts on on how they're releasing this on PC? Since we were supposed to do the first Halo, but for PC, they're actually just going in the chronological order, it seems, of how the story would play out.
Yeah, I understand it. I understand what they're doing because they're just releasing like what they have when it's ready to be released. I get that. I feel like it wasn't advertised that way though. Like when I saw MCC coming to PC, I was like, oh shit, the whole MCC is going to drop on PC today. So I bought it. I pre-ordered it ahead of time. The day it came out, I got home and immediately started up and was like, I can't wait to play Halo 2. And I was like, only available Reach.
Yeah, and It's interesting that they went that way, considering that when it launched on Xbox, it was the other way around, where it had all of the originals, and then Reach just came out when it came out for PC.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I understand it. I wish they had done a little differently.
Yeah, they could have marketed that better.
Yeah, I remember asking a bunch of people, and I was like, when is Halo 1 supposed to come out? They're like, oh, you mean it came out today? I'm like, no, only Reach came out today. And they're like, what? I was like, only Reach came out. They're like, no, all the games are coming out. It's like, apparently not. apparently we all misunderstood what they were doing.
I think we were lied to. So
yeah, it was really bad marketing. So I was a little upset, but I understand it. Had it been marketed better, I would have been completely understanding of we're just going to put out what we have when it's available. And I think that comes down to what kind of player you are of games, because I play I've played a lot of Steam Greenlight games and alpha games, and I don't mind that. I'll happily be like, oh yeah, here's $20 to help pay for the development of this, and you give me something in return for that. I'll gladly do that, but just let me know up front.
Yeah, that seemed kind of. I only knew it because of Stu, but I was happy that I found out when I downloaded the MCC collection, I didn't have to buy Reach separately. It just came with it. So that made me. I thought I could spend another $10 just to get it.
Yeah, that was a nice thing for you PC guys. For us Xbox guys, we had to buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, you reminded me of something. Okay, I got a funny story about how this all went out before I could even play this game. So first, I had bought the Master Chief collection, let's say months ago, and I've always been meaning to get around to it. So I'm like, okay, I got the copy. So Sunday night, I get a text finding out that our guest can't make it for Castlevania, so we're going to switch it back. So Monday morning, before I go to work, I'm rushing around. Okay, I'm digging around looking for my copy. I'm like, oh, where the hell is my copy? I'm like, oh well, I'll find it at some point. So I look up GameStop. Has it for $8. So I send my wife to go pick up the copy for $360 for $8. Okay, so she gets the copy. I come home Monday night. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this installed. I go and press the button on my Xbox One. Well, that's weird. Nothing's happening. So I press it again. Nothing's happening. I go back. I check the power cords. Everything's in there. I finally go online, go through the steps, and they say, yeah, you need to service your Xbox. I'm like, fucking shit. So then that happens. So I'm like, okay, I'll just buy the Master Chief collection. So I buy the collection. And I'm already upset about that because this is the 4th time I've ever bought Halo Reach. so I'm sitting here going through this. I download it, and it takes freaking 12 hours or so to download. It took a while to download. I don't have the fastest internet. It was a pain. I was very unhappy.
Yeah, we all got a game out of this, and Mike lost a whole console.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I don't play my Xbox One a huge amount, but I was bummed to find out that it passed away.
Ouch.
My favorite part of all this was us trying to get the game to run on your computer, because then it wouldn't run on your computer.
Oh yeah!
Oh my god!
I forgot about that. it just kept kicking. It just said nope and just kept canceling. I'm like, oh great, don't tell me I'm going to pull up my old 360, pray that still works, and then plug that in. But no, after I uninstalled Norton, restarted the computer, and then I got everything running and it worked.
Yeah, Mike sent me I was like, what error codes are you getting? Like I was trying to figure it out with him. And you sent me that picture of like Halo Reach was like in the background and on the foreground was like 3 Norton tabs open. That was like, your subscription's out of date. Please update. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, uninstall that first of all. That's number 1.
I did right after we talked. It went away.
And then magically the game worked. Suddenly after Norton was off your computer, everything worked perfectly. Weird.
Yeah, I was because I had to put it in window mode to make it run, and the Norton thing popped up. And then after I uninstalled Norton, I had it running in poor graphics though. Like I could see a lot of pixelating at times because I was worried it wouldn't run otherwise because I got scared.
It's your shit.
I'm not a PC gamer. This is one of my first foray. Like I was not used to my laptop getting very hot in the top left corner. I didn't like that.
I just blame anytime somebody.
Well, I hope you were at least in a cold environment, so you had a heater.
I'm in Minnesota in the dead of winter.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So you had a heater.
Yeah, all I gotta do is open the window and it could be 20 degrees cooler in no time.
Yeah, well, okay, cool. At least you had a heater for a cold time.
Meanwhile, I have to keep turning the fucking heat back off because it keeps jumping back up to 70 degrees here. Yay, Virginia. Yeah, usually when somebody asks me, like, if anyone's like, hey, I've got a problem with my computer, the first thing I'll do is I'll look at it and I'll see, like, Norton in the corner. I'm like, get rid of that and let's see if that solves all your problems. let's just try it.
Norton stands for does not play well with others.
No.
Yeah. I was excited, though, when you picked Halo Reach, because I'm not a big fan of Halo CE. At least it's been a long time since I played the first one. But I have fond memories of this game. Even though they're in a weird, I got a couple funny stories that included for one, I never buy games at release. I hate paying $60 for a game. I always buy them down the road for 20 or less. And when this game had come out, my girlfriend at the time had just left, maybe like a year before, maybe 2 years before, let's say. She left in 2009. My son was 1.5. So she left, and she came back at the same time that this game had shortly released, and she brought her now husband with her and their kid. So it might have been 2 years. And I remember watching them play Halo Reach, and I'm like, I should get this game. And I ran out the store, bought that game so I could play with my friends online. And I always just remember that. Like, I hated the guy. I'm like, I hate you, but that game's kind of cool.
And Halo Reach, bringing people together.
Well, the story gets better. Okay, so I get Halo Reach at launch. I'm trying to play with my friends, and I have a very hectic schedule because I have a little kid. And it was shortly after this I got into a fight with my friend, and we didn't talk for like 10 years over the stupid game. So we got in an argument. I was mad, and I unfriended him on Xbox, so they just stopped talking to me for years. And then finally we started talking again. But I forgot all about this, and we started playing this game. I'm like, oh yeah, all that shit happened.
Yeah, I mean the franchise tends to do that. I mean, I know I got somebody to break a controller over the original Halo. So yeah, the franchise has a tendency to cause drama and cool things and interesting stories.
Well, I would say even more than Call of Duty. It was like one of those first, big first-person shooter games that people would just lose it online. Like 9 out of 10 times, if somebody told a story about how they broke a controller or they slammed their headset against the wall, it was like, oh, what were you playing? And I was like, oh yeah, the Halo 1.
Yeah, Halo Online, Halo multiplayer.
Doing shoddy snipers on Halo 2, and I just lost it.
Yeah,
the red mist descended. I couldn't see.
I never played this one multiplayer back in the day, not for long, but I just played the story, and then going back today or this week and playing it again. Man, this game, once I finally got everything running, I was smiling as I was shooting ostriches in the first mission.
Yeah, this was definitely one that by the time it had come out, I was kind of over the multiplayer stuff for these games. It was just like, all right, let's get to the campaigns. And this one had a beautifully done campaign.
Yeah, this was, I think, I want to say Bungie kind of recognized that too. They were like, we aren't really, Forge for Halo 3 kind of changed the game for online, which was really, really cool. But I think at this point they were like, we haven't really added much to Forge. Just add Forge, just kind of leave it up to the players to build what they want to build, and we'll just have our classic game modes. So I want to say they focused pretty heavily on the campaigns for this and ODST, and then they kind of stopped there. But yeah, this is when I always enjoyed the campaigns of Halo, but I want to say this is when the story got like something about the story of this and ODST. It got really personal and really isolated.
Well, this
Yeah.
is
Focused on a very small problem, which I really enjoyed.
Well, yeah, it's because they weren't constrained to the limits of Master Chief, right?
Yeah.
They could tell something different.
which was nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
one, this is based on a book. I mean, you had the Fall of Reach that came out back when Halo CE came out, or around that time, maybe probably afterwards. But so you had the whole story. Like when I first saw they were doing Reach, I'm like, oh shit, I know where this is gonna go. Like I knew it wasn't gonna end.
Yeah, that was the nice thing about it too. Is like a lot of any movie or show that comes out and it begins with like everyone died, flashback to like a year ago. It's really hard to build that tension or make you like enjoy those characters. Like I know a lot of people had that issue with Rogue One, knowing that going in everybody was gonna die. It's like it's gonna be hard for me to like really connect with these people who I know how their story ends already. But I think Reach did a really good job.
Yeah, because it's more so telling the story of the evacuations than it is Noble Team, right? Noble Team just happens to be the one that happens along and helps these people try to get off planet that are not military.
Yeah, they're just pushing the story forward rather than like changing themselves or having some big arc. Like that's the biggest issue. If you have some story like that and you try to give your characters like big moral arcs, it's like, well, what's the point? Like they're gonna die, so what's the point of them being a better person at the end than they were at the beginning?
Yeah.
Whereas this is, Noble Team is just all the characters know exactly who they are. They're very specific. They've got their personalities that really stand out amongst each other, and it's like, I know it's going to happen, so just get me there. And then by the end of the game, you're like, shit, I actually really like.
Perfectly, they make you, the player, the rookie. You're the new person. And so you're like, okay, and everything just goes wrong.
Yeah, you're just soaking it all in. That should be the tagline for Halo. It was a simple mission. Everything went wrong.
And I should say before we get too far, there will be spoilers for Halo Reach. Obviously, if you listen to the show, you should know that by now, and probably spoilers for other Halo stuff. Let's say, just in case.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Just say spoilers for Halo in general. If you care about like the Halo story so much and you haven't made the time to play them at this point, then I don't know, maybe like take a look at your priorities.
Well, especially if you're listening to a podcast before playing. Right?
Yeah. I just get annoyed with people who do that, where they'll like seek out, like somebody will do a review of a movie from like 20 years ago and they'll be like, I was gonna watch that. And it's like, it's been 20 years. Like, if you're gonna watch it, then watch. I don't care how busy you are. You can take 90 minutes throughout the course of 20 years to watch this movie.
I agree with that same sentiment, though. Like, I mean, there are certain things that I have not caught up on, and I've just waited years. And I'm like, I don't. And sometimes I stay unspoiled for many years, but I'm like, it's not their fault.
I've said it many times before where I just don't care about spoilers. Like, it's actively annoying to me because I'll talk to somebody about a movie that just came out, and they'll be like, Game of Thrones is a great example. Like, I didn't watch the 8th season of Game of Thrones for a while just because I heard a lot of people like weren't into it, and I was like, I'll check it out when I check it out. And I was talking to somebody, and I was like, yeah, what happened in that like last episode? And they're like, oh, I don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you. And it's like, just tell me. And they're like, I don't want to tell you. I'm like, I don't care about spoilers. Just tell me. It turns into an argument every time. Like, just tell me what happened in the fucking episode. They're like, I can't say anything. Yeah, just say it. I'm not gonna yell. I wouldn't be like, just.
Dude, I'm actively asking you to tell me.
I am telling you it's okay. And their attitude is like, I'm gonna be like, it's okay, just tell me. And they're gonna be like, oh well, this happens. I'm gonna be like, what? Why did you tell me that? I'm not a child, just tell me.
So in the last episode of Game of Thrones, Darth Vader came down.
What? Why would you say that to me? You know I don't like spoilers, even though I asked you about them. I do that with most movies. I will wait for other people to see them and then get them to tell me what happened in the movie, and then I'll go see the movie. And I find that it's more enjoyable that way.
Yeah, I mean, I still haven't seen the new Star Wars, but like the day after it came out, one of the guys came into work. He's like, "Yeah, I just saw it. It was so awesome." He's like, "Oh, but I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to spoil you." And so I just walked over and I leaned into his ear and I asked him like 2 questions. He was like, yes and yes. I'm like, okay.
I did the same thing. I was like, I'm not going to bother seeing this when it comes out because I am not confident in it. I'm one of those people. I like Force Awakens and I like Last Jedi a lot. I think those movies are really good. I understand that people don't like them. I enjoy them. Rise of Skywalker came out, and I was like, I just don't have any. I was like, I feel like I don't have any anywhere to stand in this fight anymore. I'm just like, it just looks like I just have a feeling it's not going to be good. And they came out, and I was like, well, let's see what other people think about it. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. I guess I'll just go see it as like a matinee later.
Yeah, I'll see it at some point. I enjoy them for what they are, which is fans trying to finish the story that George was like, I think I finished strong enough with Vader's redemption arc.
Yeah.
All right, so Halo Reach starts off like one thing I think is cool that this is kind of their first introduction to them. I think I want to say like they hadn't really fought the Covenant very much yet, or they might know who they are. I can't remember exactly.
Knew about the Covenant, but there was mostly like small skirmishes. It wasn't
okay.
On like the outreaches of space, not at any like one of their main planets yet.
This is the first like big invasion by the Covenant.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the story of the UNSC. It's the story of their first real loss in that war.
Yeah, they lose fucking bad too.
And they lose bad. And this game lets you know right up front they're gonna lose bad. This game starts with I think this is my favorite opening to a Halo game because it opens with the helmet in the field like years later.
Yeah.
After life has started to regrow. And it's a very like strong image of like, okay, like it's got like a lot of emotional resonance with it and you don't really know why. And then by the end of the game you have context for it and it really stands out. I think it's like I said, it's my favorite opening to the whole series.
I mean one thing we should say what year this came out. We hadn't said that yet.
This came out in 2010.
Okay. Made by Microsoft.
Made by Microsoft and Bungie, back when Bungie was still Bungie.
Well, back when Bungie was still working on Halo. Halo 4, it went to 343 Industries.
Yes.
Which did actually poach quite a bit from Bungie, but they had to keep that part quiet.
Yeah, it was like a pretty quiet split because a lot of people got mad at them. I was always trying to stay like neutral in the whole fight of like, well, these people just want to make the games that they want to make. So if they want to switch over to 343 and 343 wants to take a bunch of those like artists over there and all that talent because they want to work on Halo, then just let them do that. I think Bungie was in a lot of ways it was one of those it's still around, but Bungie had that string from like 2000 to 2010 where it was like one of those companies that you just kind of trusted implicitly to put out good games. You had that like nice run for like Bethesda and even Activision for a while. Even EA had theirs like string. that nice string of like just if it's made by Bungie and it says Halo on it, it's gonna be good or it's gonna be enjoyable.
Yeah, it would be a quality game that you could enjoy. The story would be good, gameplay would be good.
Like, have you ever seen that chart of there's a chart of like all the Halo games and you move the scale up to whatever the most recent Halo game is. And like the first option is the best Halo game ever made. So the third game back is always the best Halo game ever made. The second game back is always like changed the game. It was awful. Like it completely destroyed it. And the most recent game is like total trash.
I haven't seen that one.
I have not either.
It's very accurate. Whenever a new Halo comes out, everyone's like, oh, but the last game was like, the last game was really good. Like Halo 4 came out, everyone's like, oh, but Halo 3 was the best Halo game ever made. It's like, you weren't saying that when Halo 3 came out.
I don't even remember.
I clearly remember you saying Forge was a mistake.
All right. So also like when this game opens up, like even the first mission I thought was like really interesting how they don't really know what the hell is happening yet. Like you're kind of trying to rescue civilians. You have the stupid ostriches running all over the place that are fun to shoot. And it's just like it starts off in a really interesting way. I mean, they don't know exactly what's going on. They think it's rebels, which is one thing that's not really touched, I feel, in any of the other Halo games, that before the Covenant came into play, they made the Spartans to help fight against, I want to say, wasn't it the rebels and other conflicts?
Insurrectionists, yeah. It was
Okay.
It was essentially, in Star Wars terms, it's people living on like the Outer Rim who are tired of it's Firefly is what it is. It's Firefly and Serenity, where it's people living like way out in the like middle of buttfuck nowhere space, saying, "I think we can run our planet better than the UNSC can." And so it turned into this like little mini civil war and that's how the Spartans came into play. The original, the Spartans. I was about to say the original Spartans, the Spartan 2s. The original Spartans were all failures.
Like really bad too, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, and this is kind of like, it's a really strong opening because it's you first, like for the first quote unquote mission in every Halo game is like their 1.5-minute opening cutscene. So the first like quote unquote mission in this game is you are introduced to the Noble team. You're replacing another member who has like died or is basically out of commission. It's like because they're all like big shoes to fill. Like you're the new Noble 6, and everyone's like kind of against you at first because they're like, you're not as good as the old Noble 6, except for Jorge, who just is just a lovable guy.
Yeah, it's really awkward how everybody's just like, oh yeah, you got big shoes to fill and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, fine.
Sure. I love how they set up those characters so concretely at the beginning, where Carter Noble 1 is he is in the background working on the mission details. He's the leader, and then Kat's kind of like managing the rest of the team. And
she's the team mom.
She's team mom, and you got like June not saying anything, just like staring at you. I think he like makes a crack or something. Emil's over in the corner sharpening his knife on his helmet. You're like, all right, I know exactly who everybody is. And I think Jorge's the first one to be like nice to you, where he's like, welcome to the team. Like you immediately know you've got 6 characters in the game. You immediately know who everybody is. You immediately know how you fit in that group. And it's such a good, like, it's a masterclass in like being like how to set up a character. Okay, this person's doing this. This person's doing that. You know immediately. This guy is the gruff one that like he's just here because he thinks war is badass, and this guy's the leader, and he only is focused on the details, and he's not paying attention to everything else.
That's a really good comparison, like way to describe some of the characters in this.
Yeah, it's great. They're all really strong characters, and it speaks, I think, a lot to say that they were only in this one game, but they were very popular, and they ended up being like firefight voices in Halo 4, and they like still have I'd say a pretty big popularity. I think I want to say like Jorge and Kat in particular are like very high. Whenever you see like a character poll, people just love them. Emil's crazy and badass.
Emil's got like the skull on his face mask.
Yeah, he has carved the skull into his helmet.
Yeah, Emil's the one that's with you for honestly the best section of the game, which is
absolutely, yeah. I love how they do that too. Is the first mission starts off and like you're going to this little like farm base. It's not even a base. It's just like a bunch of.
It's like a little
land.
farmstead.
Yeah,
it's like Uncle what's the Uncle Ben and Aunt Beirut's farm out in the middle of nowhere, right? Like, that's essentially where you're going to figure out what's going on, and you're like, oh yeah, they're having some troubles and people are dead and rebels, right?
Yeah. You get that little Carter's giving you the mission details. You're coming in on the Hornets, and he's like, we've got reports of like disappearances and like firing out here. We gotta go check it out. And it's just you going to check it out. You think it's insurrectionist activity, and it's just like everybody hops off the Hornets. Everyone's got that military. Like it sets you up like, okay, this is a military operation. I understand all these characters. I understand how they fit in the story. I understand the character interaction here. I know where everybody's place is on the team, and it just throws a wrench in the system immediately with, we have to fight these insurrectionists, and you fight these farmers, and they're like, it's not other people, like something else is attacking us, and bam, the Covenant attack.
Yeah, I think they even named the section of the mission too. It's rebels don't leave plasma burns, because like the first thing is you show up and it's not even bam Covenant, it's like bam, like wait a minute, these are weird marks for rebels, right? Like
yeah, it's what, like, would you say it's like all in all 30 seconds from the Hornet to when you're at the door of the farmer? It's not a very long amount of time, but it's just enough to set it all up. Like, okay, this is a peaceful planet. Nothing's happening here. This isn't, the middle of Halo 2 with the fucking flood attacking you and like chaos everywhere. It's just a peaceful land, and there's like some, like, you see like a dead body and some plasma burns. You're like, yeah, that's what, like Jorge's line is, the Covenant don't leave plasma scars, Captain. And you talk to the captain, they're like, oh, like my daughter's been taken or something, and we don't know what's going on. And you walk around the corner, and it's a bunch of fucking jackals.
I have never liked the jackals.
I love the jackals. Jackals are like my favorite enemy to fight in Halo.
Well, they're not my least favorite. Is the stupid. I hate the frickin' the buggers, which I was very sad.
The drones.
Yeah,
the drones suck.
The drones are one of the weaker enemies. I loved how in here you had the different jackals, right? Because you had the ones that didn't have the shield and didn't have and weren't snipers. Because usually, unless a jackal has a sniper rifle, it always has the shield. They had those little like non-shielded, non-armored jackals, and those were pretty cool to see.
And like later in the game, you see they have like the armbands.
Yeah,
I think Halo's always been good about like their character design has always been really strong. I mean, even back to like the first game where it was just like, okay, these elites are blue and these elites are red, but it makes sense because the like red elites are like commanding the blue elites, and like as the colors change, it's signifying their different ranks within the Covenant. I think
it was like instead of like a blue belt, here's your blue armor, here's your red armor, here's the gold armor. Oh shit, that guy's gold. Oh fuck me, I'm gonna die.
Oh shit, there's a black elite. Oh, he's gone. Oh great, we're all gonna die. He's got a sword. Fuck. I've got a book somewhere of like the art of Halo that goes into it, and I've always liked their character. I've always liked their character design. I've always liked how they make all their models, and I think Halo Reach is a great example of them saying, okay, this is where they're at in Halo 1. We need to take that and make the Covenant look a little less, like a little bit more primitive, a little less armored. They like by Halo 1, they're in a full war. These guys have like wartime armor, and in this game it's like, okay, these guys are just invaders. Like they aren't going to look as armored, they aren't going to be as tough. Like maybe they didn't plan for the humans quite as much as they did, so they just, instead of having a full body shield, they just have little like arm straps that have little shields on them. Some of their like outfits are a little bit more ragtag, like the Spartans in this. I love all their armor because it's just like, it looks like stuff just glued onto the side of their armor. Like Jorge has like all of his grenades just strapped on him.
And doesn't your character have like a little smiley face on his thing, on his armor, I want to say?
Yeah, that's your standard emblem.
Okay, I didn't change it.
I always change it because I've had the same emblem since Halo 2, so I always gotta go back to that.
I was wondering why there's a stupid little smiley face. I'm like, what the hell is the point of this?
Yeah, everyone gets their little character emblem to set them off. I love that little personal touch.
Yeah.
I like June's armor the best because he's got like a little bit of like a ghillie wrap on the back of his armor because he's the sniper, and he's got like bullets strapped all over him. It's great.
Yeah, I love how since it's back during the time where they were prevalent, there is all this customization to the armor. They were all different, and where Master Chief is after the fact, where they can't really make any more of those guys. But his armor upgrades in the later games are like, whoa, really? They're still doing that stuff? Wow, he got a new armor piece. It kind of looks the same, but whatever.
Everything looks a little bit more like guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Well, also,
and everything serves a purpose too.
Yes, yeah.
Like one thing that was so interesting to me with this game back when it came out, and even today, is that this was like one of our first experiences in seeing a lot more Spartans. Because back when you just had Halo 1, 2, and 3, you just had Master Chief.
Yeah.
I don't think there were any other Spartans in any of the first three.
No, they're not. Okay. And that's the whole thing is. It's sort of set up in Halo 1. They tell you like he is the last of the Spartans. Yeah. That's why everybody's like, oh shit, Master Chief, like he is the last Spartan.
Yeah.
And it goes, and then you learn throughout Reach that he has essentially the, oh shit, this is what's gonna save us AI invention thing, right? And so like that's why he becomes as big on just the human military. It's not what he did on Reach or on the original Halo. That's part of it, but it comes from he is also the only Spartan left in the world.
Yeah, he's like the prototypical, like he is the Spartan to exemplify. Which I was fine with him bringing back his team for 5 and having the other Spartans, like having the newer models and having his old team. I was fine with that, but yeah, I was always a big fan of that idea of, oh yeah, almost all the Spartans are gone. This is what we have. But he is like the legendary soldier. And this goes back to, these aren't legendary soldiers. These are just like more like spec ops type guys, or these are very specialized soldiers.
Right.
They aren't the best of the best, but we have a lot of them and they're slightly better than the regular person. So,
and they give us a really good chance. And then it turns into him and he's the only one left. And yeah, he does become that, global badass.
I always appreciated the idea too that though they don't explicitly state it, you get I always got the sense that you aren't the only Spartans on Reach. There are Spartans all over the planet that are all like fighting to get people like to evacuate and fighting the Covenant. Yours is just a very isolated story on one part of the planet.
Right.
And really like only a couple areas.
That's how I took it too, because I mean, you got to think about it. This was, if I'm remembering correctly, this was the UNSC's big military base where they were doing lots of different testing and had a lot of top secret things going on.
Yeah, and it was the development center of the Spartans.
Yeah, it's where Sword Base was located. So it was essentially like their big R&D planet, or one of their big R&D planets.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is why the Covenant decided to make everybody go burn.
Which I like, because it's the game. It doesn't start at Sword Base, but like that opening level is just to introduce you. The Covenant are here. It's just setting up the story really well. You're fighting the Covenant, and then you got to go and while you're driving around taking them out, you hop in a Warthog, and you have to stop to evacuate some civilians and some soldiers that are like pinned down, and then you have to then it gets into the actual story. This is all just set up.
I do like how there's so many missions where each mission's like, oh, you're gonna go do this, and you're constantly trying to fight off the Covenant, but they are freaking they have huge anti-air guns pretty quickly that you're having to take out. That they have been building a base very, very fast since they landed. They are just erecting the structures, getting everything going, and they're here to win.
Yeah. They did not come to mess around. They came to take that planet.
Yeah, you get a good feeling of how the Covenant. Because by Halo 1, the Covenant is already established. They're already there. This is a great example of how the Covenant set up, where they've got those modular bases that fall from the sky, and immediately they've got a foothold on the planet. It's every level of this game, you feel like you're losing more and more. As you're doing more and accomplishing more goals, it's just shit keeps hitting you from different directions. And you gotta it's all... Whereas Halo 1, 2, and 3 are all you are actively participating, you are actively making decisions to fight the Covenant, fight the Flood. This game is all reactionary. It's the Covenant's doing this, we have to slow them down. We can't destroy them, we just have to slow them down. We have to do this, we've got to help these civilians get out. It's all reactionary.
And that element of the story actually pushes the gameplay part of it too, in that most of the Halo games, you don't have to kill the enemies. There's only a few set pieces where you actually have to kill everybody for things to progress. And so a lot of the games, you can just pretty much just run. And for almost all of Reach, that's literally what it is. And it makes so much sense to the story, because it's always frantically, I need to go do this. I need to go do this. I need to go do this. And we might have a chance. And then you go do it and you find out, no, sorry, you're still screwed. You're boned. Try this.
I ran a lot whenever I could.
I like that opening because it's you trying to get to, you think Halsey is off in this base and you've got to go save her. That's kind of the mission that you're given. Is after you evacuate the farm base? It's her off campus site or whatever.
Oh, you're talking about the early missions, right?
The first mission, you got to go. Okay. You go into that base, and it's been taken by Covenant, and you're trying to get in there because you're trying to find a Halsey. And you've also Jorge's also we got to find that farmer girl too. And you go in and you find the girl, and I love that she's speaking a different language.
That was cool.
It's just a nice thing to throw in there that okay, the UNSC is not totally in control of everybody at this point. There are people on the edge of space that are speaking their own language. Jorge's speaking Hungarian to her. You're yeah, that makes sense. Not everybody is allied right now. Everyone's fighting with themselves. Of course, they're gonna still be speaking Hungarian. And then the fucking sword elites come out and you kill them, and it's okay, the Covenant are here. What do we do next?
Which also kind of goes in what you were saying, how everything is reactionary. How each mission, it's just, here's the next thing we're going to try. I know early on there's that mission called Nightfall where I don't remember a whole lot what you're doing. I just remember sneaking around at night with a sniper rifle.
Oh,
and I know you can I know you can go through stealthy. I would just go, hey, fuck it, and start shooting people. They'd be oh, they found us already. I'm oh, I wonder why. And I just continuously shot into grunts. I just didn't care. I played this game on easy, and I just played fast.
It's a stealth mission, but there is no stealth weapon in this game, so you're just firing blatant 50 cal sniper rifles.
You can sneak up on people, but I don't like the assassination.
Yeah, you can sneak up on them and bop them in the head.
Yeah, that was if I had one complaint about this game, is that you didn't have any like way to stay quiet. But I understand why that you weren't prepared. Whereas in Halo 3 ODST, the whole point of the ODSTs is to kind of be sneaky and behind enemy lines. You're a Spartan. You're supposed to be front lines, take everything out. You're all supposed to be one-man soldiers essentially.
I really need to play ODST.
Oh, funny enough, the ODST aren't even Spartans though.
No, they're not. Those are just like other soldiers.
Yeah. Those are
just like Marines.
Those are they're a little bit more tactical Marines.
So I say like Halo 2 is my favorite multiplayer, mostly for nostalgia, but my favorite stories are definitely ODST and Reach, where we're gonna take a break from the main campaign. This is what's going on with other people.
I love how was it during the Alexandria missions, you're actually helping out the ODST team.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's fantastic. And you get it's
Buck
the same
makes
ODST.
an entrance. He's you hear him on the radio. He's who you drop off.
I like how Buck was just meant to be like that one-off character for ODST, but because Buck is played by Nathan Fillion and everybody
loves him.
Nathan Fillion, he has to be in every game now.
That
character was played by anybody else, they'd be like, all right, forget that team. But it's Nathan Fillion.
That character survive and makes it to ODST?
Yep.
Yeah, he is an ODST trooper in Alexandria, and he gets promoted, and he is running his own team in ODST. And then by Halo 5, he is like a new Spartan.
Yeah,
okay.
because of Nathan Fillion.
Yeah,
that
makes sense.
Legitimately the reason is because Nathan Fillion voiced him.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I didn't even realize that many people made it off the freaking planet in general.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, that mission in between after Winter Contingency is the first Oni sword base level, which I've talked about this before. I love any game that it puts you in an area that you come back to later in the game and it's changed. And so you spend quite a bit of time at Oni sword base throughout this game, and I really enjoy how much it changes throughout the game. Like it starts off and it's a very clean area. You're like the Covenant are attacking and they're getting in, but they've only just arrived, and so you're just going in to like try to find Halsey and complete your mission and get the hell out. I think at first they're attacking and you actually leave from sword base and you're killing the incoming Covenant, and then it ends with you getting back to sword base, and then by the end of the game you are assaulting sword base because it's been taken. I love that.
Yeah, you're having to fight to it and then to get there and then defend it while Halsey's finishing up the package to give it to you.
It's so good. Yeah, I'd say
so good.
Yeah,
it was a really good game. Like I was impressed how much I enjoyed it. But there is one level that I had vaguely remembered that I definitely want to talk about, the Long Night of Solace level. There's a couple things I love about this. One, if you end up going to you hijack, or you don't hijack, but you get into, let's say X-Wings. You get into some X-Wings, and you fly up into space into a two-person ship, and you have a whole level where you're flying around shooting down Banshees, and I don't remember, and Phantoms?
Banshees and Phantoms and Spectres, which was like the Covenant's, essentially they're bombers before the Covenant kind of moved away from that because they weren't as effective. I like that. They introduced a new class of ship, but the new class of ship can't be good. It has to be slightly ineffective to explain why it doesn't exist anymore.
There's a lot of things that were introduced in this game. Like the Mongoose wasn't the Mongoose first in this game, or was it also in 3?
The Mongoose showed up in 3.
Okay,
but you got there's a lot of stuff that showed up in Halo 3 that people don't really remember from Halo 3 because it wasn't used very much. That's used more in this. There's a troop carrier Warthog that was in 3, but it was completely useless to that story. Whereas it kind of gets a chance to shine in this game because you can get in this truck and Jorge can get in the back of it and put his turret up on there, and suddenly it becomes a usable vehicle.
Right, okay. and it's one of the first ones you can find early on too, before you start getting the actual UNSC ones. You get the farmer versions of them.
Yeah, you start the game with this shitty little, essentially like a pickup truck that Jorge hops in the back of.
Because she just drops the minigun onto the roof. All right, we're ready.
It's suddenly it feels like the countryest Halo. It's like, yoo-hoo, let's go kill them Covenant.
I mean, there's some really cool things in this game. That's the first thing I have to say.
I seriously wonder, was somebody at one of the pitch meetings was like, all right, so picture this. You got Dukes of Hazzard and Halo.
I mean, that's a good.
I would love to have been there just listening to people make this game, because it does seem like it seems like a lot of them were like, okay, what do we have? How can we use that in this world? Because this world isn't. We're dealing with a game where like you're not being completely completely armored. You're not going to have like the best of the best. You're just dealing with what is in the world at the time. That's always kind of been the point of Halo. The whole point of Halo was that the Master Chief was supposed to be like an expert at everything. So it makes sense that he would drop his gun in the middle of combat and pick up one of the Covenant weapons because he can use that. I think this game pushes that to the extreme where it's like, we don't even have a Warthog. Let's just take this old truck and we'll just make use of this old truck because that's all we have available to us.
Yes,
it works with the game.
I know a lot of people don't like that Saber mission in space where you're flying the Saber.
It's a nice change.
I love it too. I think it's right in the middle of the game. It's mission 6 out of 11, so it's like smack dab in the middle, and it's so different from the rest of the game. It kind of gives you a break from shooting. I think it really breaks it up well. Where it's all right, we're in space now. We're gonna do like a little bit of a Battlefront 2 space battle. Like just in the middle of this, just to like clear you up a little bit, throw something different at you before we throw you back on the planet.
I completely forgot about it until I saw Josh, I think, post a video or something of it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's in this game.
Yeah, I got 6 kills in a matter of 30 seconds. I wasn't doing too bad.
I wish Bungie would make like after I played that mission, I was like, oh man, Bungie should make the next Battlefront 2. Like they should be the ones to remake that game.
Too late for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But like even like the way that spatial ends, where you fly onto the ship into a Covenant ship, which you think is the only Covenant ship coming. You think this is their whole squadron, and you're bringing a nuke on? No, a slip space drive or something on.
Yeah, it's a slip space drive that to really lend to like how everything is just like jury rigged and thrown together. You're bringing a mission. The whole mission objective is to get this engine from another ship onto this ship, which you're turning into a nuke.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're making the engine blow up.
Yeah.
Blow as a bomb to blow up another ship.
I love the setup for that too, where it's like at the end of the previous mission, Kat is talking about how like, oh, do you remember that like terrible slip space disaster? And the leader Carter's like, yeah, what about? And she's like, yeah, that's a simple. It was a simple like usage error with their slip space drive. You could totally recreate that. If we needed something to blow up that ship, I think I know what we could do. It's great. And this is the real like halfway point where I say the whole game is reactionary. The first half of the game is you're trying to evacuate civilians, and like the Covenant are there, but it seems like it's kind of like a stalemate almost. Like they're not taking you over, but you're not exactly winning.
Yeah.
At the end of the space
it seems like a tit for tat here and there. Like, okay, we'll pick some people up. We'll rescue these people. Ah, crap. Now they're over there 5 miles away. Son of a bitch. Let's start walking.
You have that perfect end to this mission where exactly halfway through the game, you blow up the Covenant ship and it's like, yeah, we did it. And immediately it's like
6 of them show up. You're like,
they just start falling out of slip space around the planet. And you realize like that's the biggest moment where you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Everybody has to die for this to work.
Well, we also, right before in that scene, you find out that the bomb you have lost the remote detonation. So one of your team grabs you, says somebody's got to stay behind, and throws you out the airlock down the
this is Sparta's you to safety.
Yeah. The first so you have this moment. It's the first sacrifice of the game. It gives you. It's perfectly set up. You have just enough slight victories to forget about the fact that everybody has to die. It's just enough to get you in the moment and be like, yeah, we're kicking their ass. And then Jorge sacrifices you, chucks you off the planet, so you have to armor lock down to reach, and all these Covenant ships comes pouring out of slip space, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I that first moment I played this game, I still remember playing this game for the first time because I was like, oh yeah. It completely slipped my mind that everybody has to die.
Yeah, there's no better way to remind you that you're fucked than forcing you to re-enter the atmosphere of a planet by yourself. No ship. No, you just got to fall back to the planet.
Yeah. And that next mission is, oh my god, that next mission might be one of my favorites in Halo, where you're just on foot alone in the city, and you're just like trying to get you're trying to like get in contact with the rest of Noble Team, and you're just helping civilians along as you go. I love how
and picking up weapons because you have nothing.
Yeah, you start off with like a mag of Magnum ammo, and it's like, all right, like find shit as you go, like you're on your own.
Yeah, that was the only level that I really liked the way that they did the levels. I didn't like how your weapons don't carry over. If you pick something up and you're running through the level and you're literally playing consecutively, your weapons changed every freaking level. They had a weapon loadout for the beginning of the level, and I didn't like that. Outside of this one mission, that one mission, it makes sense. Everything else is just like, okay, this is an arbitrary mechanic.
Yeah, fun. I wasn't a fan of that either, because that was like my favorite part of you get a friend over, and like I had a friend and we'd do this constantly. Like I had a friend come over and we'd stay up all night to do like Halo 2 on Legendary, like Halo 2 Lasso, all the skulls on.
Yeah.
And so much of it was making sure you had that weapon at the end of the level, which had ammo to carry over, so that when you started out, you still had like a battle rifle with a full clip in it at least.
Right.
I wish they had. I understand why they didn't do that, because each level is kind of so contained, and each level starts off with you traveling to like a new area and dealing with something else. So it makes sense that somebody would like hand you back like your standard gun. But I would have really liked the idea that Noble 6 was like, no, I've got this carbine that I'm really fond of that the Covenant had. I'm just gonna hold on to this for a while.
Yeah, I really like the idea of stick it to them with their own weapons.
Yeah. Those Covenant carbine. Covenant carbine was like my favorite weapon for the longest time.
Well, speaking of Covenant weapons, I hate almost every Covenant weapon in this game. In general, I just don't. I don't like Covenant weapons. I only use battle rifles, assault rifles. Yeah, that's about it. I try to stick with those two guns at all times.
I'm like,
you like the spray and pray battle rifle
and the pistol. I love the damn pistol in this game.
Aside from the battle rifle, which I hate, usually in games, I will be like, I'm going to stick with the standard weapons. Like, I play Fallout, and I never use any energy weapons, much to some of my friends' chagrin. I will be like, no, I don't care about, like, the laser rifles or the plasma rifles. I just want my hunting rifle, and I'll be good.
I love
But this game, I'm like, sick, a Covenant carbine, like a needle carbine? Hell yeah.
I just had a hard time with the weapons.
That brute gun, that's like,
the DMR was awesome. Yeah, and what was awesome too is like they literally almost had an answer for the Covenant version of our weapons.
Yeah,
which wasn't in all the other games. So like you had the DMR, and then the Covenant had the Needler rifle, which was their version of the DMR.
Yeah.
Then so like you could literally be like, oh crap, I really like this gun. I'm out of ammo. Crap. And then find an alternate version that you're gonna find a lot of ammo for because it's carried by the Covenant.
That's another thing I always absolutely loved about their design, was that the brutes all have combustion weapons like humans have, and it makes sense because the brutes are the more primitive species of the Covenant. Like the fact that they had all these energy weapons, they're like, okay, they are they are technologically far superior to us, but then the brutes have like their combustion shotgun and their combustion SMG, and it's like, okay, like that makes sense. Like they are the
with
brutes.
Bayonets on them.
With bayonets on them, It's great. It's absolutely perfect design.
I had completely forgotten the brutes were in this game, and I smiled when I saw the brutes. I'm like, oh yeah, I like fighting these things. I don't mind the brutes. They make me happy.
A lot of people were like, I know some people that were like genuinely upset when the brutes started taking over for the elites, but I always liked fighting the brutes way more because
they don't have a shield. They don't have a regenerating shield.
Some of them do.
Yes, like the higher ups do, but
the higher ups do. Especially in Reach.
They're so easy to kill. I love it. They're so much easier to kill than elites are.
Elites are a bitch to kill.
Yeah, whenever you fight anyone going back to Halo 1 and 2 having to snipe elites, it was just a pain in the ass because their heads are further down on their bodies, so it's really hard to get a headshot from behind. And the brutes are just the biggest heads.
I remember playing as an elite in Halo 2 on multiplayer just because it was harder to headshot them than the other ones.
Yeah, that's you play SWAT magnums that everyone's a fucking elite. Every single person. Back some
old memories.
You're like, oh, do I play as the humans or the guys that you can't shoot from behind? Obviously, I'm playing the fucking elites. I used to play SWAT magnums with the human just to make it harder for myself.
Why am I not surprised?
Because I'd be like, if I won the game, I'd have even more bragging rights of being like, yeah, I kicked all your asses and I'm playing as a Spartan. Back when I used to be good at video games.
I still think you probably are.
I'm better than a lot of people, but I don't know if I'd call myself good. I can win some games of like PUBG, but if you put me in like an RTS, I fucking suck.
Okay.
I won the first 3 games of PUBG I played. I won 2 of them, and I was like, all right, cool, yeah, this is my game for a while. I'm gonna be playing this for a couple months.
Okay, I did not know that about you.
I'm really. I think it's because I played so much DayZ. I'm just really good at any like battle royale game because I don't trust anything.
That's probably the right way to play them.
Yeah.
Oh, so if we were speaking earlier about when you like go to Alexandria, like you're coming into the city that they're trying to evacuate, and I like how you're just like they don't expect like, oh hey, a Spartan's here. They just start giving you random missions to try to help out, to try to make some kind of sense. Mm-hmm. And it especially with the second part of this, when you go into the nighttime Alexandria and you're in a freaking helicopter flying around. God, yeah. That was awesome. Like that was a really super cool mission to me.
Yeah, those Hornets are. I think the Hornets are one of my favorite introductions to the series after like the original cut of all the flying ships and vehicles and everything. Because around Halo 3, they were like, we need to have more vehicles in here. What can we throw in? I'm like, well, let's just throw in like the equivalent of like an Apache helicopter. And I was like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. That's awesome.
They did a good job of it too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. You're just flying around the street, just taking out Banshees and Phantoms and everything. But it's so. That's why I say like Bungie needs to make a Star Wars game. This team needs to work on a Star Wars game because it's basically you flying around like the equivalent of Coruscant. The city is like skyscrapers that are like a mile high. You can't see the ground because it's just clouds. Like you blow up a Banshee and it turns into a burning wreckage and flies down through the clouds. And you're like, well, wherever that fucking lands, that's where it lands.
No, I hope it doesn't crash into this building we're about to land on.
When one of the buildings gets fucking shot and just starts collapsing, like it gets hit by like an orbital cannon. That's just, it's so cool to me.
I mean, well, it just also shows like how bad the Covenant are just taking apart this planet and how big the scale is.
Completely destructive. It's such a great level too, because it's like the only open world that has existed in Halo games. I mean, like ODST is kind of all open world, but in terms of like their linear games, like you suddenly have this like kind of open world segment where you just have to get from point A to point B, but how you get there is up to you.
Yeah,
it's great,
and you could really you could actually take your time and do a lot more fighting and clear a lot of enemies out and have your dogfights in these confined, like sky alleyways. I don't know how else to describe them. You're literally right in between buildings trying to have a dogfight.
It's great because you can choose to fly up above the buildings and like fight out in the open, or you can like, if you want to have like a really good time, you can fly really low and like be going in and out of these little gaps in the buildings. It's great.
Yeah. I really think they did a great job with the flying mechanics, both in the space one and then once you're back on planet. Like they had the flight mechanics pretty well done.
Yeah. It's funny because when they added in like the Hornets, I remember thinking when they added them back in like way back in Halo 3, I remember thinking, oh, this controls just like the Warthog. And being like, wait, no, the Warthog is always controlled like a weird air vehicle that's just on the ground for some reason.
Yeah, the Warthog is not very good.
Suddenly their controls made sense. I like the driving in Halo, but yeah, it is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, you have to just understand it. Then I'm okay with it. But like when I first played Halo back in the day on original Xbox, I was like, this is stupid. And now I'm like, okay, I'm used to it.
Yeah, it's funny because driving mechanics in games that aren't driving games have always been like hard to kind of master. And I think my favorite examples of driving and non-driving games is like GTA 5, which has basically become a racing game at this point online. Like all of GTA Online is basically just like, do you want to race or do you want to just hang out in your apartment? Like those are really the options you have. and then Halo, where it's like, this is completely wacky and goofy and wrong, but it also kind of makes sense once you get a hang of it. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get what I'm supposed to be doing here. Just point to where you go.
As we had mentioned earlier, like when I was playing this, when you would, a couple different times you'll stop and go into a building and do something, you got to deactivate something. I would just run, avoid the enemies, deactivate the thing, and run back out. I'm like, I don't have time for this. So I would just avoid people.
There's that one area where you go into the building and you have to kill like 4 hunters on the way in, and then 2 more attack you on the way out. It's
you can skip them.
You can't skip them, but I'm a fucking Spartan. I'm taking those hunters down, man.
I tried. I killed 1, and then I went up the stairs and found 2 more and said, okay, we're done. Fuck this. Deactivate the thing. They're like, we got this, guys. We got this, Spartan. I'm like, sure you do.
I killed the hunters. Those are like the only enemies I will actually like. Okay, fine, I'll stop and fight you.
I don't like fighting hunters.
The other ones, I'll be like, okay, do I really need to kill you? I'll fire some shots. If you die, you die. Otherwise, I'm running.
I love any hunter fight in Halo.
Yeah, they're fun. I love their first like real entrance in 2.
Oh my god, where they kick the door open?
Yeah, their entrance into where you're first introduced to them, it's such a boss fight entrance thing, and it's like the only time it really happens in the Halo series. Yeah. Where like you're introduced to this boss level thing, and you're like, holy fuck, and then like they're just a normal enemy after that.
Yeah, they're
not in 1?
Not really, no. They're the Halo 2, they have like their big entrance.
Okay. It's been so long since I played Halo 1 or 2 or any of the ones besides Reach, so my brain's
the hunters are such cool enemies to me too, because they're really odd enemies. Like they're not like a single organism. Hunters are a cluster of worms.
What?
Yeah, they're a cluster of these like big worms that the Covenant have. They get into they're really odd. They're clusters of worms that form colonies, and the colonies like make up their bodies.
What you're actually fighting. That's why you have to hit them in the little orange spongy parts. Because the blue part is literally armor.
It's the same armor used to make scarabs, which I always thought was really cool, because we're gonna take what we have available, we're gonna throw a bunch of armors on these things, and pat them out and just throw them at the enemy. Okay. It's cool. And I know the reason they always have 2 of them rather than 1 is they form these like bonds between colonies. That's how they breed. Whenever you fight 2 and you kill 1, the other one will always berserk. It's such a great design.
Okay, and for those that are unfamiliar with Halo, the Covenant is an alien race of different aliens that they took different species, put them all together, and have a religion that they're following. So they are all following a certain religion.
Up until Halo 2, when all the shit goes wrong for the Covenant.
But that's a basic idea for the Covenant, for those that are unsure of exactly what we're talking about.
I appreciate them, because in the other Halo games, you also have the Flood, which are like the kind of zombie, like weird zombie science fiction organism that exists in this world as well. I appreciate their restraint, because it would have been so easy to throw the Flood into this game, and the fact they didn't says they really cared about the story that they were telling.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because it's a good story.
Yeah,
I mean, it wouldn't have made sense to have the Flood in the game yet.
No, it wouldn't have.
I think that would have really screwed with continuity if they had.
Yeah, unless a developer would have absolutely said, people like fighting the Flood. The Flood is a cool enemy. Let's just throw them in there. I think it speaks volumes that they were like, we're not going to put the Flood in this game. This is a prequel.
I hate the Flood.
I love fighting the Flood. The Flood missions are always my favorite missions.
Yeah, that's actually how I knew that 343 people were some of the people at 343 were originally at Bungie, was when I was at E3 one year for the year Halo 4 was coming out. And I was talking with the guy right outside the Microsoft booth, and I was like, yeah, I'm a huge Halo fan, blah, blah, blah. And, I want to see if I can get in and see some of the stuff and get a lanyard. And so he was like, oh, how big of a Halo fan are you? And I told him, I bought Halo 2, the collector's edition, like 6 months before I bought an Xbox. And he just looked at me like, wait a minute, what? He leans in and he goes, yeah, I did the Flood missions in Halo.
Oh,
I'm like,
awesome.
Really, dude? Those things were amazing. He goes, oh, shit, really? He goes, sit right here. And then he went and he got me in to check out the thing and see a lanyard. Because usually everybody's like, oh, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, yeah, dude, no. There's actually a lot of us Bungie over at 343. Like, we can't say it, but there is.
Okay.
Yeah, those Flood missions are my favorite for sure, because they.
And
so
going back to when we were talking about the hunters, they do show up in the first Halo, and they're kind of a what the fuck moment, but they don't really have like a cinematic-y entrance to them.
Okay.
And they get that in Halo 2, like really early on.
I was actually I was preparing when this episode was initially going to be about Halo 1. I was preparing to talk about it because I jumped into the series at Halo 2. My friend loves Halo 1. I had a friend who he got me into the Halo series, and he played Halo 1 nonstop. So I played Halo 2 before I played 1. And so going back to it, I was like, Halo 1 is a great game, Don't get me wrong, it sets everything up really well. I'm sure we'll do an episode on it when it comes out. But Halo 2 is when they kick everything into overdrive. And they're like, we've got something here.
Yeah, Halo 1 is more of like a little bit more less restricted Doom. They tried to play like.
It's like, the early Call of Duty.
The story's there and it's told to you as you're playing, but there's no real cinematic points to it. Everything really just flows as like a combat narrative. And then Halo 2, they can really kick everything into gear, including all of the storytelling during the missions and everything like that.
Yeah. I'd say Halo 1 is like, it's important to similar reasons to like the original Call of Duty. Like mechanically, this is very important, but it's like when you get to like Call of Duty 4 or like Halo 2, that's when people sat down and started playing them and they're like, okay, this is going to change how games operate. Everybody from now on is going to be emulating either how this game plays or how this game plays. These are the standard. It's very rare to sit down and play a game and be like, this is the new standard for how everything is going to operate. I'd say like Uncharted is one of those big ones where you sit down, you're like, okay, all cinematic games are going to be based on this system forever. Until someone comes along and makes the next standard game, this is going to be the standard for 10 years.
And I do want to say it's right after this level when you meet up with your team again. Isn't this when Kat gets sniped?
Yeah, this is so you've lost Jorge at this point, and you're leaving one of the towers in Alexandria. You've evacuated as much as you can, and you're leaving to start you're leaving to go back to Oni base, and like you formulated your plan, and you're running out, and Kat gets shot in the back of the head by a sniper. And it's out of nowhere. 4 steps
from the airlock door, elevator door thing that you're heading to.
It is the most shocking moment in the game. I'm not gonna lie. I can't even lie about this. To be completely honest, the first time I played this game, I cried at that part. I get really into video games, and Kat died, and I was sad about Jorge, and Kat's death comes out of nowhere, and I just lost it. I was like, oh fuck, no, but this is the beginning of the end.
But that also speaks to the nature of this game, of how much it does, if it pulls you into the story. Because when you look at other Halo games, you could give a shit who most of the characters are, but in here you really care about Noble Team. You care, even though I can't remember their names. I do. I just don't. That's just how I am. But
Kat and Jorge
I cared about the team. Carter is the leader.
They do something
and
really.
Emil's
like the vanguard.
Okay.
He's DPS to Jorge's tanking. They do something really phenomenal in this game too. That shouldn't be understated, because up until this point in Halo, you play as the Master Chief, who is, he's the faceless super soldier that you're supposed to put yourself into. You are the Master Chief. You are doing this. In this game, they do something remarkable where before people die, you get a chance to see their faces and see that they are humans, see that they are real people. So you see Jorge's face, and it's Jorge's the first one to take his helmet off, and he's the most he's got the most humanity out of everybody. He's the most empathetic. And so you see his face, and then as Kat's talking to Carter earlier in the game, she takes her helmet off and she's talking to him. And so you really get a sense these aren't just nameless soldiers that are dying. These are actual characters that I need to care about.
Which I felt it did a good job of.
Yeah. The only character whose face you never see is, aside from Noble Six, because again, that's your character insert. The only character you never see is Emil, and that's because that's Emil's thing. Is that Emil wants to be this character that
Emil's face is the skull on his mask.
Yeah. He's trying to be a legend. He's trying to build up this other character, which makes sense.
He was the origin of the Mandalorians. You don't take off your helmet. This is the way.
That's a great comparison. He is the Mandalorian of Halo. Yeah, that's I'd say Jorge's death is really the first feeling of, oh, okay, we're gonna lose, and then Kat's death is oh, we're gonna lose way harder than I thought.
We're gonna lose, and it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it pumps up the stakes so well.
And then we've been talking about this off and on. The next mission is when you go back to Ani base. Yeah. And as Stu was saying before, everything is different now because they have taken over, but they haven't destroyed it yet because they're looking for something.
Yeah. You've got to infiltrate your home base.
Yeah, you're working your way up and resetting those. No, you don't even get to reset them until after you get up and you retake the top, huh?
Yeah.
The actual gun that are supposed to be defending the base.
Yeah, you've got to destroy their anti-air turrets so that you can land more troops so that they can just hold out while you complete your mission. It's the whole thing is we're going to lose everybody.
And like the whole time, like you're trying to retake that base, they're just like staring down at you like, we have the high ground.
Yeah.
Like you're fighting uphill to take back this base. Like like Bungie took like you're going uphill both ways story and took that literally with this game. You are literally going uphill at all times in this game.
It speaks to their level designers for it, because they had to design a level that was uphill both ways, where like the first time you do it, you've got to go out there, you've got to take out their like mobile fortresses and destroy them so that you can hold this base, and you're coming back and suddenly you're the one attacking the base and you're the one trying to take it. And it's got to be it's got to be harder than the first time.
Isn't it? It's a good scene. And then when you finally get to where you're going, I like how the mission changes all of a sudden. Like, hey, we're going to blow this up. Like, no. And you're going down the secret room, down an elevator. And I love when God, what is her name? Halsey just takes over.
That asshole.
And takes over, and you think she's dead at this point because you were told that she died. She's like, my death might have been exaggerated.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh God, what is the line? It's like, news of my death has been like
greatly exaggerated.
All reports of my death or something like that.
Yeah. Halsey is such a weird character in the franchise because she's such an asshole, and she is just awful, and she makes terrible decisions that are completely necessary. Like every time Halsey is like, I've killed this child, and you're like, why? And then by the end of the game, you're like, okay, I understand, but you're still a dick for doing it.
Yeah. Like her whole thing creating the Spartans was kind of like, a war crime against humanity. And it's just like, but it saved us.
By Halo 4, she's literally like on the run from the UNSC for war crimes.
Yeah.
you're like, you gotta track down Halsey. And I think at some point you're like, you should kill her. And it's like, yeah, but like we wouldn't have won.
She did save the planet.
Yeah.
Technically.
It's, like everything she did was terrible, but
it's like if Lex Luthor suddenly actually saved the planet.
So many of our podcast episodes, at some point during them, I just yell out like, "That's how DC should have done it." Just like I've just come to the conclusion that literally anything else besides giving Zack Snyder that series would have been a better decision. Just do something interesting.
That's not saying a whole lot.
Do Man of Steel, but in any other way. Yeah, I enjoy Halsey as a character. It's hard to pull off characters that are blatantly evil, but also completely necessary. And I think Halsey's a good example of that.
I don't know a lot about her. I do know because I have never played Halo 4. This is the last Halo game I played in published order. I also never played ODST very far, so maybe. So I mean, for me, like seeing Halsey in this, and I thought she never made it out of the original of Reach in the original trilogy. I didn't realize until later she comes back in 4.
She's like Rico in the Starship Troopers franchise, where like Rico's dead, and then she shows up again. Like, okay, this time Rico's dead for sure. That's gonna be a joke for like 2 people who have seen the whole Starship Troopers franchise.
I haven't seen anything but the first one.
I think I'm one of the few people who has seen.
I think I've seen 1 and 2.
The rest of them are awful. They're all terrible. Like
it's fine. I mean, even the first one was awful.
Yeah, but the first one was like
fun.
I think the first one's one of the greatest movies ever made, but
I highly disagree with that statement.
I think it's awful in the right ways on purpose, because it's the same guy who did RoboCop. He knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what kind of movie he was making.
The first one worked so well because they went so far different from the books.
Yeah, it was a satire.
Right? Yeah, rather than doing it as serious fascist propaganda, they were like, all right, fine, we're going to shoot the whole movie as a satirical fascist propaganda piece. And so rather than seriously doing the book, they were like, fuck it. Fuck the book.
And we're going to shoot it like it's an episode of like 90210. We're going to shoot it wide and like a very that very clear palette. Oh God, I'm so angry that I'm usually not upset when somebody's like, oh, they're coming out with a movie like this. I'm not the kind of guy that's like, oh, that's dumb, like they shouldn't do that. Even when, as much as I complain about the DC movies, even when a new DC movie comes out, I'm like, that's fine, like it's not for me and I don't like them, but I know there are people that like them. But this made me legitimately upset. They are remaking Starship Troopers as a faithful adaptation to the book, which is like, the fuck is wrong with you? The book is like a pro-fascist, pro-totalitarian, like dictatorship is good, awful book. It's the most like, it's a terrible, problematic, awful book. Thank God we killed all these bugs. Death is the only way. Violence and death and all hail the great leader. It's like, don't do that.
That sounds.
It's gonna be bad.
I can understand. Oh, but like even that level when you're down in the caves and you have to like activate the turrets and they're all trying to get to you, where Halsey is getting what you don't know until later is Cortana ready for you. That was a cool scene like that.
Yeah,
I enjoyed where you're trying to hold down this small little fort. And I'm assuming the hard difficulty, those turrets are getting shut down constantly. On easy, they never got shut down once.
Yeah, if you like, I played it on Legendary, and it was just it's just constant. Like, it's hard to play that level on Legendary as one person because your turrets are just going down, and you either have to like cower and hope, or like play with multiple people and have like a team of 3 constantly moving and turning the turrets back on. It's difficult.
I never would play on Legendary. I mean, I have in the past. Like, back when I was an achievement whore, I tried to beat Halo 3 and them on to get the achievements on Legendary, and I might have. I can't remember anymore. But nowadays,
they have the achievements for beating. Eventually, when all the Halo games come out, there'll be like a big achievement for, I think, beating all of them on Halo Lasso.
Yeah, so you'll have individual Lasso achievements, and then you'll have the collective Lasso.
Yeah, and I am 100% going for that.
I generally do like to play on Legendary. I think mostly for, the getting games done in the year thing that Sergio's been doing in Overblood. Been usually popping it down to just playing through on normal, and making sure to play through for this. I forgot what I was playing on normal or whatever. But yeah, usually I'll go through and I'll do a run through of the Halo games on Legendary. I remember when Halo 3 came out, the fiance and I waited in line for the midnight launch, got it home, and her and I had beaten the entire campaign by 8 o'clock that morning on Legendary.
Nice. I think this one is. I would argue that this one is, if not the hardest one of the harder ones on Legendary.
I would have to agree with you there, just because it's the most ill-prepared of them. Mm-hmm. Like, because and that's because that's the way the story is like getting through it. Like all the other Halo games, whether it's a mission is going down as you were expecting it to, or you're okay, this mission's taking you someplace where you're like, this is a fucked up situation. It's not as ill prepared a situation as you are in Reach. Reach is always just the odds are against you. You don't have the weapons. You don't have enough health, armor, all that shit. It's just everything is always against you in Reach.
Yeah, and they throw so much different shit at you. Like the drones are awful on Legendary because they just kill you immediately. If there's like a swarm of 4 more drones, they just take you out so fast.
Oh, and I think we should make a quick announcement. Our other co-host joined us.
Hello, I made
Stefan.
it. Sorry, I was I was in the car on my way over here.
Anyway, let's go to Shelf or Box. I'm just kidding.
Almost there.
That would have been really funny if you came in.
Right. We do have a lot of questions though. I got a lot of comments about this game that will take up a bit of time when we get there. That will also. And then I want to. My favorite part is what comes up next when you're trying to get Cortana to Admiral Keyes' ship. And early on, I want to say that's when Carter didn't sacrifice himself. While you're driving, he's flying a Hornet.
Stefan, we're at the very end of the game.
Okay, all right, this is good.
Yeah,
he didn't fit. Yeah.
Also, I didn't even finish the game, so I'm gonna have no idea what's going on anyway.
That's okay. Yeah, you're not. I mean, there's YouTube. But okay. So, and that has my favorite scene when you jump on a mongoose with you and I think Emil is his name, and you have a freaking Scarab, which is a giant 4-legged tank that's like, let's think of like maybe a skyscraper high or so, chasing after, maybe not that high, but it's huge ass freaking thing.
It's like 6 stories, 7 stories high.
6 stories.
Yeah.
Chasing after you. And you're just driving a little 4-wheeler, trying to escape it, and that scene was just amazing to me. I was just so happy driving a little mongoose. You got to make a jump at one point, and I was like, "This is so cool."
I mean, a Halo game wouldn't be a Halo game without a Fast and the Furious moment.
Yeah, it's their callback to like Halo 2 and Halo 3 because that's how those games end.
Halo 1 ends like that.
Yeah, Halo 1.
You have the mad rush trying to get out, jumping over shit, and then jumping into the back of the Pelican.
It's necessary to do that in this game because they need to set you up for this is the climax so that the actual climax hits you so much harder.
Yeah, and I'd love like shortly after that whole mongoose section, you're then on foot and you come around that one corner and I mean, you guys saw if you were in Overblood, you saw my video that I posted. I literally, and I captioned it with the quote from, the other guys where Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock jump off the building.
Oh, aim for the bushes.
You're literally like 2-3 stories looking up over a cliff. And, back in the original game, they did have an achievement for pulling off a perfect assassination from that height. That's the only way to jump off that cliff and land and take the shortcut to get through the mission is to pull off that move. I had a heck of a time. I'm still trying to actually nail the assassination. All I've been able to do is punch them in the back of the head as I landed. For some reason, that's enough to save you.
That's great. I like that. That whole last mission is so fun.
It's so full of great moments.
Yeah, it's at this point you've lost Kat, you've lost Jorge, you've lost Kat. Carter is kind of like, I like that Carter is not really that important of a character. Like he's the one like leading you, but his whole character is just like, yeah, he's in charge. He's telling you where to go, but he's always distracted by just like the stress of everything going on.
And then it finally gets down to the end, and he's like, "Yeah, no, it's still you guys here. I'll be a distraction."
Yeah. That level starts off with you in the back of a Pelican, and Carter is shot to shit, and he's like, "I'm gonna die. You jump out. I'm gonna distract him." And then later, the Scarab comes back, and Carter comes back on the radio, and it's like, "Okay,
hey, I'm still here."
Yeah, he's like, how about that distraction, boys? And slams into the Scarab and takes a bow, and you're just like, what the fuck?
That was a cool ass scene.
It's great.
And the whole last level.
Well, it was so your distraction worked so well. I kind of forgot about you.
Yeah. He shows up out of nowhere, and it's like, all right, fuck yeah.
And just even like, I mean, the rest of the level doesn't have too many memorable things until near the end of it, but just like kind of, the whole time you're trying to get to the ship, they're like, hey, we got to go, guys. We're waiting for you.
Yeah.
And then when you get near the end, when you're like the landing platform, you're trying to clear it out. All the enemies just keep pouring in on you. You have Emil on the cannon shooting until things don't go so good for him.
I love that
scene though where he gets attacked by the elites with swords and he starts fighting them off, but they just take him out.
He's just taking down he takes out like 5 elites with a fucking knife before one gets him. It's great. It's such a strong moment too, where you're just like Emil, who you haven't really spent that much time with in the game. He's always just like, whenever a noble team attacks, they always split up into 2 groups of 3. And so for the most part, it's like, okay, you're with Jorge and June, or you're with Jorge and Kat. And like this last part of the game, it's like, all right, you've got Emil. And this last level is really like getting to know this character as you know he's going to die. And so they make him such a strong character that when he dies, you're like, oh, fuck, like he was so cool. He was such a badass.
Yeah, they do a really good job with that too.
He needs that, it needs that scene from like Scott Pilgrim. Like when he dies and he's have that quote in there, it's like, I can't die. I'm so cool.
I love that movie so much.
I love that too, because that whole level, as you're getting closer to the Pillar of Autumn, you keep getting like little vistas with the Pillar of Autumn in the background, just like to give you that sense of like, okay, you're still like a mile up and you're getting closer. You're still not quite there, but almost like it's getting a little closer. It's getting just incrementally. You see a little bit more of it. You'll see like it way off in the distance, and then by the end, you're fighting right outside of it.
Yeah,
you feel like you cover so much ground.
It does, and it's a great way of like showing your progress through the level.
And that little Easter egg in the Pillar of Autumn too, as it's pulling off, or in that Pelican. I don't know why. At the end of the level, you've got to take over. Emil's in the Mac cannon. He gets killed, and Captain Keyes comes down with his Pelican, and you're handing off the idea is that you're supposed to get in the Pelican with Cortana, like get off the planet. But as the Pelican comes down, you see more ships coming in, and it's like, well, I've got to stay behind. I've got to get the Pillar of Autumn out of here. And so you hand Cortana off to Captain Keyes, and there's that little Easter egg where if you hold the stick left, it'll pan over, and you see the Master Chief in his little tube off in the corner. I just love that.
I didn't know that was in here.
Yeah, it's during that cutscene. You just have to hold the left stick down.
Now I want to say that was added in for the remasters and wasn't in Reach originally.
I think it was in Reach originally,
and it was like you saw. I think what it was originally was that you saw a portion of what could have been his pod, and that was supposed to be what it was. And then for the re-release stuff, they expanded upon that to then just like, okay, yes, you can see him.
Yeah, it's just him in the pod. I like how he's just there.
I think that's what happened, but I'm not sure.
It makes no sense. It's just a goofy Easter egg at the very end of this like emotionally destructive game.
Yeah, I think also if you look really hard in the background, you can also see the Millennium Falcon just flying by.
Yeah, just taking off. I like that too because it's you're just like, I've got to stay behind, and Captain Keyes is just like, okay,
like, all right, you do you, Spartan.
That's your technically you're the ranking officer on this planet now, so you stay behind.
I mean, and that
just take everything out.
And like after you
know this captain, a captain goes down with his ship, even if it's a planet.
Even if the ship is a planet.
Like even that whole scene, like I like how they give you control of the gun. You have to take out multiple ships, and then you take out Phantom, and then you take out a freaking cruiser. I forget what they're called.
Yeah,
it's a Covenant frigate.
Yeah,
I don't know if they have a special name. I'm sure they do, but
everything has dumb names, and I mean, hey, I shouldn't say dumb. Halo just has those names where, what are we gonna call him? It looks kind of like a jackal. Jackal, that's his name. This guy, he's a special sir. He's the elite. We'll call him elite, guys. Oh, what a great idea.
Well, I'm really hoping that the naming meeting for that, when there was like, okay, which one's this gonna be? Is it a jackal? It's a jackal. Jackal. It's a jackal. Is it a jackal? Okay, fine. This will be the jackal. Shut up, Steve.
Well, to that I'd say, Mike, is that's what the humans call them, as jackals.
I know.
And they actually do have a name. They're called the Ungoi. But in Halo 2, for some reason, they call them the Grunts. Like, the Arbiter calls them Grunts. And it's like, that's not what you call them, though. You've got a different name. Come on, Keith David.
And then, I mean, that's when the game really hits, is you have a last mission after, God, what the hell is that ship called? The Pillar of Autumn?
Pillar of Autumn.
Pillar of Autumn. Shoots away.
The epilogue mission.
Yes.
And it is like it's just you and a gun, and all of a sudden all it says is survive comes on the screen. That's it.
Yeah.
Only objective, and you just have to fight as long as you can. I mean, if you want, you can
held
die
out for like 10 minutes.
That's pretty
good. That was always the like. I love that because story-wise, it's so strong. Story-wise, it's you are alone in the remnants of this area. Just survive. And it's like, you can just die, but like, you're just going to however long you feel like you need to like hold them off, as long as you can. If that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. But then if you're playing the game, like again, with 4 people, it turns into a really fun, like horde mode at the end.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really great thing, a great way of ending off that campaign. I mean, it literally, the whole time they're putting you in that, the boots of, yeah, dude, you guys are doomed. Get everybody off planet. Try to save as much as you can. We're not gonna win. Let's try to save people. We're not gonna win. And then finally at the end, you're like, yeah, we're not gonna win, but I mean, I gotta try to survive.
I'm taking them down with
like literally, like if you were put in that situation, what would you do? And it's like, okay, I'm gonna try and fight as hard as I can for as long as I can. It's not gonna end well. It's gonna end with you dying, but you have to try.
Mike, I'm just gonna let you know I looked it up. They haven't named that particular battle cruiser that I can see, but it's just called the Covenant battle cruiser.
Okay, I'm surprised because usually everything does have names.
I'm sure it is a named one, but I can't find which one that was. It wasn't like the Ardent Journey or anything. I'm not sure.
Okay, are you guys ready to go to questions? There are some things I know we haven't touched on, which we will touch on with the comments.
Well, we got to talk about the actual like Noble Six's end. I feel like
okay,
after you try to survive as long as you can, you don't just die. It goes into that final cutscene.
Yeah, it goes to that final cutscene. Yeah,
of Noble Six just
I do love how like he's just like, all right, fuck it, this is the end, and takes off the helmet, sets it in the dirt, and like positions it so the camera can catch the fucking end. It's just like, all right, I'm going out like a badass, but you're still not going to see my fucking head.
I'm taking out as many Covenants as I can on the way down. Yeah, it's filmed perfectly, and it's filmed in such a way where like it can immediately fade back to like you die. It's just focused on the helmet, and then it fades to the image from the beginning of the game as Halsey does her voiceover. And it's
right, and it goes from the destroyed destruction path with the helmet sitting there, and it gradually grow. You see everything like turning into like regrowing, and life goes on without you.
As Halsey does her speech about how like hope will return, and it's a great bookend for that game. And it's just like whenever I play this game, I think of Rogue One, and I think of there's a lot of things in Rogue One that I like. There's a lot of things in Rogue One that I think weren't as effective. It doesn't have that bookend. Like it needed that Halo Reach style bookend of it needed to start the exact same way it ended or something. Just saying this is an isolated story. It's over. That like what you've experienced has only happened to these people, but it was important to get to everyone else where they needed to be. It's great. I like too where it's like the whole message of it by Halsey is like you didn't leave the planet because the Spartan 2s belong to Reach. They belong to that planet.
Yeah.
So all the Spartan 2s stayed on, except for June, who survived. But
June survived. Okay, I was gonna ask about her. I don't remember her dying.
June was the sniper who was a male.
Oh.
Yeah. June or Noble 4. I think he was Noble 4, right?
I don't.
Noble 3 or Noble 4, one of those two. But yeah, he survives because he becomes Halsey's escort for a while and then goes on to train a bunch of like Spartan 4 recruits.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to cover the other Halos if they ever release them on the Master Chief Collection eventually on this show.
Yeah. But we definitely will. We definitely will. I definitely want to talk about Halo 2.
Same. All right. I think that about covers most of this game. You guys ready to move on to questions, comments, and memories?
I think so.
Sure.
All right. And we will hit multiplayer and other things because we have a lot of comments. Some I'll read through fast. Some I'll have us continue on. There's a couple one that will lead us into some more conversation. But I posted in 4 different groups, and a lot of people responded, actually. So I was impressed. I was surprised. One from Chris White said, Halo Reach is one of the few special editions I didn't regret buying. I still have the journal patches to this day. I forgot about this special. I remember seeing the special edition in Best Buy for like cheap.
I regret not getting it.
I picked it up probably a few years later at a Best Buy when they had a few out for cheap. The statue's pretty cool too.
This one from Carrie Chandler said, I bought my first Xbox, a 360 Slim, with money I made from a summer programming job my 3rd year teaching. I got it at the launch of that revision. My first and so far only current generation non-Nintendo console. A month later, Reach came out, and I got it today to hit street. This is to this day my very favorite Halo, both for the story and the multiplayer. I put hundreds of hours into Slayer, got a robot arm, and had big storm clouds covering my upper torso.
Yeah,
I mean, just the fact that you can do all that.
Yeah.
And this one,
we didn't talk about multiplayer that much, but
no, not yet.
The addition of like all the, it's hard to talk about multiplayer, and that's because I've played it, but on MCC, but we haven't all played it together, which is kind of like the best way to talk about it. But yeah, they added a lot to the multiplayer that was really cool. Adding like having Halo 3 when they had all the different armor types you could unlock. Like trying to get that fucking armor type where you had to kill somebody that worked on the game or worked at Bungie and they would gift it to you. I was like,
yeah, I do remember that.
I played that game so much just hoping I would come across somebody from Bungie. And like every now and then people would announce like, hey, I work at Bungie. If you beat me, you get this at the beginning of the game. And I was like, I would try so fucking hard. I think one day I was just playing like a capture the flag and I caught somebody randomly. And afterwards they were like, oh yeah, here's the code. And I was like, fuck yeah.
I do remember that. I think there was an achievement for it too or something at one point in one of the Halo games.
And just adding in, that was such a cool idea. And just like Halo Reach adding in so many different unique armor types so that you could build your own special Spartan. You could build your own like guerrilla fighter. It was so cool.
It's been so long. And this one from Michael Irving said, I love Reach. It's my second favorite of the Halo games. ODST is number 1. I really need to play that one day.
It's a lot different. It does a lot of cool things. I mentioned in an episode a long time ago, my favorite thing that ODST does is it scales all the enemies up because you're playing as an ODST and not as a Spartan. So it makes you're shorter than all the other Spartans would be. So the brutes are like 1.5 times the size. It's really clever. It's a really clever way to make everything way more menacing.
And this one from George Olgin said, Reach is a fantastic game, probably my favorite of the Halo series, with ODST being a close second. I think it comes together so well because it doesn't shy away from the the outcome of our team. But the story beats each other. Every big character moment feels earned, and the score is absolutely incredible. And even though it does have the slight irk of prequel that has better weapons / tech than the original game, I'm okay with that. The gameplay is interesting with various ways of tackling the waves of Covenant. It's a war movie where you're on the losing side at nearly every point and ultimately makes the triumphant moments all the bittersweet and things eventually become worse. I agree with almost all that. I think so.
It doesn't have. I mean, it doesn't have tech that's better.
Yeah, I would say all the tech is...
The tech that it does have that's not in the later ones is there's like a grenade launcher that the UNSC has, and then like a plasma grenade launcher that the Covenant has, and they're both pretty shit weapons anyways.
Yeah,
the Spartan laser.
Spartan laser's in 3. Yeah.
Yeah, Spartan laser comes back later, but I mean, again, just because it was there in Reach doesn't mean there were any that made it on the Pillar of Autumn or made it in the one Pelican that the Master Chief crash landed in.
Yeah.
It's like, just because those weapons were there doesn't mean that they had to be there immediately in 1 or 2.
Well, the thing for me is like, why would they make new weapons like guns in this game that just suck? Like, I hated most of them. I was like, here's a new additional weapon, but it sucks.
Yeah, we talked about that. We're like the introduction of new vehicles things, but they were designed to be inefficient because there needed to be a reason for them not to be in the other Halos.
Seriously.
I do like that too. I never considered that, anything that wasn't on the Pillar of Autumn when Reach happened wouldn't be in the first game, because that makes total sense. So that's what you got.
Like, I mean, were those grenade things something that was just being developed and tested out on Reach at that time, and so like hadn't been stocked on the Pillar of Autumn, and since it did leave in the middle of an emergency?
I'm gonna let everyone in on a secret too, because this there actually is a real life equivalent to this in Vietnam. During the Vietnam War, they introduced the M16, and it was so hated amongst every fucking soldier there. There's a story of it's changed multiple times, but I don't know what the rank is anymore. I think it was a captain who he got in like a shipment of M16s to replace their old bolt action rifles and semi-action rifles. And supposedly he ordered his troops to take the M16s and throw them in the river so they didn't have to use them. And he was like, oops, they got lost. It's like, it was the more effective weapon, but everyone hated it because it's like, it's different and it was heavier and nobody knew how to fucking fire it. It was automatic and just hard. Idiots would just hold down the trigger and fire all 20 rounds immediately and be out of ammo. So better things aren't always better.
Yes.
As I always say, change is hard for some people.
Yes, especially for soldiers in the middle of war. To be like, all right, we've changed literally your entire ammo and military fucking structure. Have fun dealing with this new weapon you don't have to use.
All right, I got some more to read still. From Tony Carras, I might have butchered his name. Said, I'm still upset about Armor Lock as a usable power in multiplayer. It seems incredibly overpowered with very little downside using it. Why does it exist?
To piss you off, Tony.
They didn't use it all in this game.
It's used specifically to piss off anyone who thinks they've just got a really cool warthog kill. That's all it is.
Oh, dude, I'm about to run you over my warthog or my ghost.
Yeah.
Nope.
I hated it at first because I did like to drive around and just run people over. So I did hate it for that reason. But oh man, it's just being able to just like armor lock right before you get hit and blow up a whole fucking warthog. And if there were 3 guys in it, you just suddenly got 3 kills. It was so satisfying. It is so fun.
Okay. And this one from Jason Almina said, such a great game, one of the best in the series, great level design, better than usual. I just like when people say the good things about this game. I like it. From Matthew Irwin said, yep, to this day it still has some of the best level design, environmental diversity of any game in the whole franchise. And from Paul Askew, still my favorite Halo game, played so much of the multiplayer. I never did. Unfortunately.
I played enough for all 3 of us, I think. So
I tried.
I played a lot of Halo. I had friends that were, the Call of Duty people, and I was the Halo guy, and I played a shitload of multiplayer.
I mean, there's another.
I really only played Call of Duty 4 multiplayer. That was like the only Call of Duty game I played, and I really liked it. Don't get me wrong, but I was just like, it was like when Gears of War came out. Like, some people were Call of Duty players, and some people were Gears of War players. Some people were Halo, some people were Call of Duty. I was Halo.
Okay, I like Halo better because I don't like Call of Duty die instantly. Have a couple more to read. From James Oliver, he said, as a player since launch, I was very happy to hear Reach is being released. Nothing beats the Xbox 360's lobby. I don't miss those days. I don't play multiplayer anymore.
I never hated those lobbies. We had what we had. It was what we could work with.
This one made me laugh. From Jacob Ayers. He said so many LAN parties and Stone Knights spent playing in this gem.
Halo 2, when you were trying to Halo 2, you'd have to like bring you'd go over to a friend's house and bring your Xbox and set it up for like the 8-person split screen. I fucking love that.
Oh yeah, those are classic days.
Those are I don't remember any of. From Brock Johnson, said clans were big in this game. I have no recollection of that.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. Clans were. I like how clans have kind of been phased out of a lot of multiplayer, but like that shit got intense back in the day.
I just got a few more we're going to read from the Overblood group, because I got to read some from that group. And then we'll be all done with questions. One from Adrian Blair said, look, it never gets old armor locking if someone charges you with a ghost. Like we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
I never did that, but I can see that being hilarious. Someone like, yeah, I got it. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it worked. It's great in the multiplayer. It works out well in the campaign, too.
Yeah.
It's like the only time that the armor lock is actually ever useful during the campaign.
Few things beat the nostalgia of just remembering all the warthogs and all the ghosts I've blown up just by standing still and punching the ground. It's such a sweet victory.
And this one from Sam Labertu, he said, Reach was my first Halo and my favorite. Good choice, sir. I remember loving the story. I was unaware of the largest story of Halo at the time. I had no idea it was a prequel.
Really?
So all the deaths blindsided me.
What the hell?
I love me team, and each sacrifice stung, including the sequence where you got to play your own death scene.
Yeah, he probably
missed out on.
Was he like living on a remote island? How did he not know about Halo?
He was living on a Reach at the time. That's interesting. I didn't really consider that somebody who hadn't played all the other Halo games playing this being their first one. Yeah, all the deaths would be so much more bitter.
Yeah, you wouldn't see it coming.
What's funny is you play this game and then you go play like the other games and you're gonna be like, what the fuck? These are so like emotionally like enjoyable compared to Reach. Like I'm having fun. Aren't I supposed to be hurting inside the entire time? I don't understand. And then Halo 3 we all just cry for Sergeant Johnson.
I don't remember 3 at all.
3 is when Johnson gives his life to blow up a Halo, and it's very emotional.
Wasn't he wasn't he a Spartan at 1.2 or something?
He was originally in the Spartan program, and that's kind of why he's such good friends with Master Chief.
Wasn't he like a leftover of the Spartan 2 program?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That something happened and he couldn't be a Spartan or some shit.
Which is why he has like all these weird abilities that a normal soldier doesn't have. Like he apparently, like according to the lore, like he could live for a long time. He had like slightly better healing than any other soldier. So I mean, it worked out well for him, but I think like all the other prototypes in his unit were just horrible disasters. Sergeant Johnson was just in the series to say cool things and make everyone love him.
Wasn't he David Keith?
He was David Keith, yeah. Okay. And it was just, I know what the ladies like. As he gives Cortana a tank.
Like the movie Men at Work.
Just watch a supercut of like all of Sergeant Johnson's one-liners, and you're like, "Yeah, this is Halo in a nutshell. This is exactly. I killed 200 elites so I could hear Johnson say something cool."
Okay, couple of other things from Rob Markin. He said, "I'd argue 2 is better, but Reach was definitely up there because I said Reach is my favorite." And he also said,
"Sorry, he was David Scully. David Keith was the Arbiter."
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's been a while. Also said, I played Reach after playing 3 for the first time. The story and action were both so good and so well balanced. Such a great game. And I have 2 more long ones I want to read, and then we're done with questions. We're done with these comments and memories. One from Emmanuel, previous guest of the show. As someone who has never played a Halo before this one until a few days ago, it was definitely an interesting experience. How did you not play a Halo before this, man? How?
Yeah,
I don't understand. Oh, I know why. There's no platinum trophy for it. That's why you never played it, huh?
Oh.
He's going to appreciate that joke when he hears this. Though it started somewhat rough for the first few chapters, I quickly got accustomed to it and plowed through it in 2 days. My favorite part was flying into space in a saber and engaging dogfights with the Covenant. Something I absolutely love doing in any sci-fi game. Can't wait to keep playing through the series once they drop on PC. Stu's waiting with you, too. He can't wait either.
I can't wait. I can't wait to kill Flippy Yap in Halo 3.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Flip Yap is like it's like a special achievement. I think it's Flip Yap or Yap Flip or something. It's like this named grunt that if you kill, he'll like as you kill him, he yells out like, "You killed Flip Yap!" It's like a special achievement to get that line of dialogue.
Okay.
You have to get like have it with the "I would have been your daddy" skull on. It's like special dialogue to hear in the game randomly. You killed Flip Yap. I just love that.
All right. Last thing we're reading from Nick Ludiman. I might have pronounced it wrong. Reach is my least favorite when Halo was still with Bungie. I'd be curious to hear why it's your favorite. As someone who plays the series almost exclusively for the multiplayer, I had a love-hate relationship with the suit powers the game introduced. Turns out giving someone the ability to turn completely invulnerable is not a good idea for competitive multiplayer.
I love how
jetpacks are cool, though.
I love how controversial it was to fucking just armor lock. Just armor lock alone was like so divisive amongst people, and you can tell. Yeah. You can tell which people were like better at driving and which people were better at shooting, because it was just that balancing thing of I need something to be able to kill the guy in the car.
Well, I mean, you could do from what I remember, it's been so long since I played multiplayer. I didn't play multiplayer to this game, so none of this stuff rings with me. I didn't play very long because my friends got mad at me.
It's just like I could tell exactly what kind of player somebody was in Halo just by going like, how do you feel about armor lock? And I fucking hate it. It's like, you were the guy in the car. You were the guy driving.
All right. I think we should move on to Shelfer Box.
We used to.
Okay.
I have one more story about this because I hated armor lock for a while because I played with a friend and we used to play like big team, where it's like 8v8. Because we fucking loved that, but we were so bad, but we loved the big team Slayer. But the only way to play like big team in Halo 3 was if you played like a playlist where like it'd be half Slayer and then half Capture the Flag. And we got so good at Capture the Flag because we just wanted to play Slayer, so that we would play Capture the Flag and we'd win the game in like a minute. like just running back and forth. It would take us about a minute to beat a big team Capture the Flag match. And when they added fucking armor lock, it like ruined that for us. We couldn't cheat the game anymore and win the game that quickly. We were just like, fuck, now we have to play big team Capture the Flag. I just love that we got so good at what we hated because right after it'd be something we loved that we sucked at.
And Stu, why don't you go first for Shelfer Box?
I mean, no question this is going on my shelf.
Box?
That's obvious. Yeah, it's going in my box. This is going in my Halo box, which is going on my shelf. No, yeah, no question shelving this game. I was a huge Halo fan growing up. I played all of them. Like I said, I have a friend come over and we'd just do lasso all night long, just trying to beat the game. And like we had that it's like that nostalgic great experience of we'd go to like 7-Eleven ahead of time and we'd buy a shitload of snacks and we would just eat like hot fries and bullshit snacks all through the night, sitting on the couch trying to
pork rind.
Oh, we would get pork rinds. Yeah, we'd get pork rinds, hot fries.
Someone got that joke.
We'd go to, you'd probably hate these, Mike. We would go to Trader Joe's or something, and we get those wasabi peas. We loved wasabi peas.
I would have said.
They're delicious. They're just peas dipped in wasabi and like fried. They're great.
Aren't they spicy?
They are very spicy. Yeah, they're wasabi.
It's wasabi.
Yeah. It's
Do not eat the pistachio ice cream. It has turned.
That's what came to my mind too.
I think I was in my sophomore or junior year of high school when this game came out, and we just played it non-stop. We just played it constantly. I played a shitload of multiplayer. I played a shitload of the campaign. I love the campaign so much for what it did and how they accomplished it. Just the way they were able to tell the story and build the game and build all these interesting characters, all these models. And it's, in my mind, it's my favorite Halo. I think it's like the perfect Halo in a lot of ways. So absolutely going on my shelf.
Okay, that's what I expected. Josh, how about you?
I would have to agree. It's going on my shelf. It's a perfect, wartime game. Story and set in the Halo universe. It was really an emotionally touching campaign. Firefight was fun. It's fun to jump into multiplayer here and there. Like I said, I've never really been a huge multiplayer person. So I would do them on occasion. It's not what I get the games for, the campaigns, or what I like in the stories. And this has the best campaign of any of them.
Okay. In a lot of ways, it's like the it's like the Call of Duties of Halo games. It's got that very Call of Duty like Saving Private Ryan style campaign where like shit, everyone's gonna end up dying. Like this is a war. It's the one that feels most like you're in the middle of a war.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. How about you, Stefan?
Yeah, so I really don't have a good sense of this game because I played it with a friend and like we would be talking over it, so I didn't really listen to any of it. And him and his girlfriend are going through a lot right now, and she would be going out every night. So we would play for like 20 minutes, then he would pause it and be like, "Do you see what this woman's trying to tell me right now? Look at this." And it was like that through the whole game. And then and like I want to say like 3 times maybe during the night, I'm like, "So what are we doing? What's the mission? Like, what's the point?" So
the point is this girl's leaving. That's the point.
Yeah, I really don't have a sense of this game. I want to put it on my shelf, but I don't feel like I know it enough. And from what I did play, I don't know, it was just okay. I wasn't like blown away, but I feel like the impact of this story probably would have helped that. So I'm kind of undecided on this. I'm just gonna say, yeah, I'm undecided.
We'll say shelf pending.
Yes,
it's shelf pending. I have a friend like that who every time I talk. It does. I have a friend like that who every time I talk to him, he's like, I love him because he's an idiot. He's a very hardworking idiot. He's dating this girl now. They've been together for like 2 years, I think, at this point, and she has a 10-year-old kid. And every single time I talk to him, he's like, "Can you believe this girl and her kid?" I'm like, "Dude, it's your kid." He's like, "What?" It's like, "It's your kid. Like, this is your kid. Like, you've had this kid for 2 years. It's your son now." It's just like, I can't believe this. It's like always something that's like really beneficial to him. It's like, I can't believe this girl wants to repaint the house. I'm like, dude, your house looks like shit. Repaint it. That's a good idea.
I can't believe she wants to make love. Jesus Christ.
I can't believe she wants to change her internet plan. Like, I'll look at it. It's like, your internet plan sucks. She's right. You need to change your plan. Come on.
Well, anytime when you change internet plans, they just cut you out altogether for a weekend, right?
I always have to give him the advice of like, anytime he's like, "Can you believe this girl?" I'm like, "Yes, I probably will, and you should too." anytime you have the reaction of, "I can't believe she wants to do this," just do it. You'll be happier. I can't believe she wants to buy actual plates for my kitchen. It's like, you don't have plates? It's okay though, because he won't listen to this because he doesn't understand technology.
Okay, so it's not Sam, huh?
No, it's not Sam. No, this is my friend who, like, I grew up like country adjacent, and this is my friend who's very old fashioned in the country who calls Skype. I shit you not. He calls Skype friends from the TV. This is
what?
This is how like old school redneck he is. I love him. He's my best friend, but he is such a redneck.
You want to get on the friends with the TV later and chat?
Like, you were talking with your friends from the TV today? I was like, you mean on Skype? He's like, yeah, friends from the TV. I'm like, you know, they're real people.
I'm not real. I'm a figment of your imagination. Hey, apparently, I got a funny thing. Okay, we'll wait on that one. But okay, I'm going to do shelf for box now. I'm putting this on the shelf definitely because I really loved this game. Like, it felt good to go back to it and not have the weird drama associated with it the first time I played this game. So that was nice. And it grabbed me. The story grabbed me. The game, everything just felt solid. It didn't overstay its welcome. I was able to blow through it. And like, I played almost I did play the entire game like a day. I had the day off and I just sat down. I just kept playing Reach. I'd have to stop every mission till my laptop gets hot and I get all scared, so I'd leave it alone. But other than that, I mean, it was a great time, and it's definitely going on the shelf, and I'm looking forward to playing more Halo eventually on the show.
Maybe Halo Reach is the game that tears people apart, not the game that brings people together.
I was thinking the same thing. I mean, it did. I mean, this is the reason I lost friendship because of, I mean, not completely because of this game, but there was already a hard time with one guy that listens to the show, who's on the show. We got into an argument. We had a lot going on in our life, Rich, and we didn't talk for years. And the last time we talked, when we played Halo Reach, I got mad at him because they wouldn't invite me to play because a friend from high school didn't like me, and he was available more. They're like, yeah, okay, we're going to play with him tonight. And I'm like, ah, and I got all mad and acted like a child, unfriended them, and then we didn't talk again for years.
Wow.
Maybe we should tell people, like, play Halo Reach unless you're in a committed, happy relationship, and then don't risk it. Like, because we don't know. We don't know what will happen. I have a friend, Sam and I have a friend who we haven't heard from in like a couple months because we played State of Decay 2, the new one on Xbox and Windows, and we were playing on like the hardcore nightmare difficulty where every little thing will destroy your community. And he came, like, we started playing together, and he made a mistake that got like multiple people and Sam in my communities killed, which basically prevents us from like ever getting back on top of it in those games. You've got to stay on top of it, or else you're just fucked. And we haven't heard from him since. Like, I think he feels legitimately bad about it.
What game was this?
State of Decay 2.
Okay.
Yeah, where like you've got to build up community, and like morale plays a big factor in it. If your morale starts getting lower, then it's like Walking Dead. Like if your morale gets lower, then people will like make mistakes more, and they'll just start fucking things up. And if somebody dies, your morale just tanks, and it takes forever to fix. And we both had 2 members of our community, of our 5-member communities, we had 2 people die each. And so we got jumped down to 3. So we were doing everything way less effectively, and everybody was miserable. And it was like, we basically had to restart our games. Like there was no salvaging it. We just haven't heard from him since because I think he feels awful.
Wow. Hopefully he's okay. All right. I think I want to introduce what we're playing next week. This time we are playing Castlevania Area of Sorrow next week for sure. It's going to be on on this episode because I'm excited to dive into that. I already have started. So that's coming up. Everything's in plans, and we won't be surprising you guys with a different game again next week because I really want to talk about Castlevania. I'm just going to guarantee it doesn't happen right now. I'm going to say it's happening next week. We promise. And no, it'll never happen. Great. We'll never play it. And also, I want to say, shortly after listening to this, there will be the Turtles episode will be out later this week. Yes. Because they're already recorded. All I got to do is edit it. I'm going to publish it Friday night, so you guys will have it. Yay. Ooh. Can't wait to hear it. Okay. I probably got to watch the movie again. What's going to happen is, I do this all the time where, like, if we do a movie, I will watch the movie again before I edit it. For some reason, it just happens, or I'll want to watch a movie more than once. And then I'll go back and I'll be editing the episode, and I'll be annoyed at myself for saying certain things, where I'll be like, I wonder why they did this. And then I'll watch the movie and realize why they did it. And I'm like, God damn it, you're an idiot. All right. I also, we have the shirts are coming, correct, Stu? Are we still waiting? Yep. They're on the way. We're almost there. I don't want to give a date yet because I don't know when, but we are working on them. Yep. Okay. I think we started saying that all the way back in the summer. Yes, but we've actually made progress on them. And I hate giving like concrete dates on anything because then it's like, oh, we're held to it. We might not have the product that we want to have out there. Mm-hmm. Sometime in the next month or two? I'm assuming next month at latest. Yeah, let's say by the end of February, probably. I hate giving concrete dates on anything, but probably by the end of February. We probably might have t-shirts around then. This episode started with me going like, I understand why Master Chief Collection did what they did. I just wish they told us ahead of time or gave us concrete dates. And now I'm like, I hate concrete dates. I would never do that. I know. I was thinking the same thing. Like, that's weird. It's hard. It's one of those things where I'm going to give this advice to everybody. If you're starting a show or like, if you want to do like a YouTube channel or podcast or anything, don't give dates. Don't promise anything because then it becomes really stressful, like to try to plan around like life events and shit. Yep. Yeah, we're going through that all the time. Yeah. I like our audience, but I'm not going to die for you. All right. Also want to give a quick shout out to Bobby, a.k.a. Mike Stoney, from his EP, Bite the Bullet. The song and School Kid Squad, our awesome intro and outro. You have heard me say this over 60 times at this point. Hopefully, maybe. If not, first time listening, hey, there'll be a link in the show notes for his YouTube channel. And Josh is our special guest. Do you have anything you want to plug real quick?
I got my Twitter and my Instagrams at JD Minette, JDMINETTE 626.
You can follow him on there. And now that we're just about wrapped up, we do got one funny thing that Stefan was last night. So Stefan texted me, and he's like, "Dude, it's so weird. There's a guy that looks just like you inside my store." And yep, he sent me a picture later. You want to tell the story? Well, I was weird because I kept like staring at him, and he probably got like really weirded out by it. He's like, "Why is this guy like following me around, staring at me through the store?"
And I just kept looking. I'm like, oh my God, it's Mike's long lost brother.
Well, in reference, you are in a ghetto store, so it does make sense to be following a lot around someone at night when you're by yourself. Definitely. Makes sense.
That's and sadly enough, one of our coworkers who's actually going to be on the show, let's see, like next month, he actually he just got stabbed actually on Friday night by a customer.
Did he look like Mike?
Yes.
Was it Mike?
It was evil Mike. He's not allowed back in. So.
Yeah.
Oh God!
I was about to say, we did that to Sam and Christian, who's also been on the show. We did that to a friend of ours. Not stabbed them, but
That's good.
We were just in the same city where she was working at the time, and we were like, "Oh, let's text her and hang out." And we were like, "Actually, it'd be really funny if we all just went into her store as if we were customers and didn't say anything to her and just confused her." So we just like walking. We like walked around like behind, like she'd be talking to a customer, and we would walk around behind that customer to see if she would spot us. And she just like was completely unaware. And we've been in the store for like 40 minutes. She's like, "What the fuck?"
I would say that too. But yeah, it was great. He texted me that he sent me a picture of the guy, and I'm like, wow, that guy does kind of look like me.
It looks exactly like you, Mike.
Mike with a switchblade.
He looked thinner though than I do, so
well, yeah,
maybe I was wrong.
He's evil Mike, so
I'm gonna fly out to Arizona now and
start walking around the gas stations.
That'd be the weirdest prank. Flying out to like a different state and like pretending not to be you to someone you met, pretending to be like a doppelganger, and not revealing.
I did that,
like
sort of. There was an example. Okay, this is a couple years ago. I was working at the store, and a guy I used to know, my ex-girlfriend's ex-husband, came in the store, and he recognized me, and I just acted like I never knew who he was. I'm like, "Oh, what's your name, sir? Oh, what can I do for you? What's that?" I just ignored every question he asked me, and it wasn't related to what we were doing that I was helping him with, and I acted like I had never seen him before. Didn't work, but I was like, you know what? I hate you. I hate talking to you.
I wish I could. I would absolutely, if I had like, if I had to really like put on like a fake mustache and just pretend to be somebody else, I would do that every day. Like, "Oh, sorry, no, I don't know who Stuart is. Sorry, I can't help you. Stop talking to me. I'm a stranger."
All right, that's about all the funny shit I wanted to mention in there. And it's becoming a thing now. At the end of our show, right after we do our plug, we always say something special, stupidly special that we have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every episode at the end of our show too, because it's been so hot this fucking winter. Every episode ends with me just staring at my fan, waiting for the ability to turn it back on.
I can't tell you how many things are wrong with that sentence. It's been so fucking hot this winter. For a guy who lives in Minnesota, just like, yeah, I think you need to change states.
Yeah, I am sweating. I put on a sweater the other day and I walked outside and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, it's like, why is it so hot?
What am I doing?
Yeah. Oh, and both of you guys live in the South. You're probably live in southern states, where I'm in the frozen tundra.
Well, the good news is that it dropped 40 degrees yesterday, so it's down to the 30s now. But then it jumped back up to like really hot, and it's gonna jump back down again this week because living on a peninsula is super fun, y'all.
All right, I want to thank everyone for listening. We will see you next week.
Bye,
everybody.
Make it cold again.